Life is not a pristine, flawless masterpiece. It's a vivid, chaotic tapestry woven with threads of struggle, triumph, and imperfection. Too often we become entangled in the idea that success and fulfillment demand perfection. We see curated lives on social media, spotless achievements in biographies, and polished public personas, and we mistakenly believe that our flaws disqualify us from greatness. We seek dreamy aspirations and polished performance, and we mistakenly believe that our flaws disqualify us from greatness. But here's the truth. It is precisely our imperfections that make us human, relatable, and capable of extraordinary things. To embrace them is to unlock a deeper, more meaningful power within ourselves. A power that lies not in avoiding cracks, but in allowing light to shine through them. Every crack tells a story. Think about the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold, making the cracks part of its beauty and history. The bowl isn't diminished by its fractures. It is elevated, transformed into something more precious and unique. You and I are no different. Our setbacks, mistakes, and flaws are not markers of failure. They are opportunities to transform, to grow, to refine who we are. As Leonard Cohen once said, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. The light of wisdom, resilience, and authenticity enters through those very cracks we try so hard to hide. Why then do we fear imperfection so much? It's because we equate it with weakness. We live in a world obsessed with image, where admitting vulnerability feels like admitting defeat. But vulnerability is not weakness, it is courage in its rawest form. To stand before the world and say, this is who I am with all my flaws and scars, is an act of defiance against a culture that demands we mask our humanity. That our biggest fear is that they will lose us. If we embrace authenticity, it is an act of defiance against a culture that demands we mask our humanity. Brene Brown, a researcher and storyteller, reminds us that vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. When we embrace our imperfections, we open ourselves to possibilities we never imagined and to the fears that sometimes drive us. Brene's final truth is that it doesn't have to be this way. We can choose to be vulnerable right now with one another and everyone else by creating a space where trust and safety can be born. Consider the stories of great achievers. None of them succeeded because they were flawless. They succeeded because they persisted despite their flaws. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 0 ways that won't work." Imagine if Edison had given up after his first failure, afraid that his imperfections would define him. We would live in a very different world. The same is true for every person who has achieved greatness. Their journeys were not smooth roads paved with perfection, but rocky trails full of missteps, wrong turns, and lessons learned the hard way. The difference is that they didn't let those setbacks define them. They let them refine them. And yet the pressure to be perfect is relentless. We feel it at work, in relationships, even in how we present ourselves to the world. We chase an illusion of flawlessness, thinking it will bring us acceptance and success. But perfection is not only unattainable, it's uninspiring. Think about the people who have impacted your life the most. Were they perfect or were they real? Did they show you polished facades, or did they let you see their struggles, their doubts, their humanity? It's the latter, always. Real connection happens when we allow ourselves to be seen as we are. When we embrace our imperfections, we give others permission to do the same. We create a ripple effect of authenticity and courage. Imagine a world where people stop pretending to have it all figured out and instead share their true selves, their fears, their dreams, their failures, and their victories. That kind of world would be filled with genuine connection, deeper understanding, and boundless creativity. Our perfection that inspires others. It's our willingness to be imperfect and to keep going anyway. You're not imperfect, you're just firing. But let's be clear, embracing imperfections doesn't mean complacency. It doesn't mean settling for less or giving up on self-improvement. It means recognizing that growth is a journey, not a destination. It means striving for excellence while accepting that missteps are part of the process. Think of a tree growing in the wild. Its trunk might be twisted, its branches uneven, but it stands tall and strong, reaching for the sunlight. Its imperfections do not diminish its beauty. They tell the story of its resilience, its ability to adapt and thrive despite the challenges it faced. There's a profound strength in owning your story, flaws and all. When you do, you take control of the narrative. No longer are you a victim of your imperfections. You become the author of your transformation. You turn your weaknesses into strengths, your failures into lessons, and your scars into symbols of your journey. As Maya Angelou so beautifully put it, I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it. That is the essence of embracing imperfections, not letting them define you, but using them to refine you. The next time you find yourself caught in the trap of self-doubt, remember this. The world doesn't need another perfect person. It needs people who are willing to be real, to take risks, to fail, and to rise again. It needs people who can look at their imperfections and say, this is what makes me strong. This is what makes me me. When you embrace your flaws, you stop trying to fit into a mold that was never made for you. Instead, you create your own path, one that is uniquely yours. It's not an easy path, but it's the one worth taking. It requires courage, self-compassion, and a willingness to step into the unknown. But in doing so, you'll discover a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more authentic than you ever imagined. You'll find that the very things you once saw as weaknesses are the source of your greatest strengths. And you'll inspire others to do the same, not by being perfect, but by being real. So let go of the need to be flawless. Embrace the cracks, the scars, the imperfections that make you who you are. They are not liabilities. They are your greatest assets. They are the gold that turns the broken pieces into a masterpiece. And remember, every time you choose to embrace your imperfections, you are choosing to shine a little brighter, to live a little fuller, and to become a little more of the person you were always meant to be. In a world that prizes perfection, the most radical act of courage is to be authentic. Every day we are bombarded with images of what life should look like. The perfect body, the perfect career, the perfect relationship. We see airbrushed smiles and curated success, and we begin to measure ourselves against an impossible standard. But perfection is an illusion, a mirage that shifts and fades the closer you get to it, and closer you get to it. It's sexy, it's scary, and sometimes it rewards us, and sometimes it frustrates us. But perfection is an illusion, a mirage that shifts and fades the closer you get to it. The pursuit of it will leave you empty, exhausted, and disconnected from who you truly are. Authenticity, on the other hand, is real, it's raw, it's messy, and it's where the beauty of life actually resides. When you stop chasing perfection and start embracing who you really are, flaws and all, you begin to live a life of true meaning and purpose. This means we're tired, we're burnt out, fatigued, we're sabotaging, we're doubting ourselves, and we don't even realize we are crazy. When you stop chasing perfection and start embracing who you really are, flaws and all, you begin to live a life of true meaning and purpose. The irony of perfection is that it doesn't inspire connection, it builds walls. People don't relate to the flawless, they relate to the real. Think about the people who have moved you, who have inspired you. Were they perfect, or were they vulnerable, human, and courageous enough to show their true selves? It is in the cracks of our facade that others find a place to connect. The most powerful person in the room, someone once said, is the one who is willing to be vulnerable. The kingdom is in your vulnerabilities. The most pure water, the driest reeds, that is the one who is willing to refill. When you have the courage to show up as you are, you create space for others to do the same. And that is where the magic happens. when authenticity meets authenticity and connection becomes possible. End quote. And here is the tip of the iceberg. How do you iceberg? But why do we fear authenticity so much? Is because it requires us to admit that we are imperfect, and we've been taught to see imperfection as failure. We've been conditioned to believe that showing weakness will make us less valuable, less worthy. And so we wear masks. We hide behind achievements, appearances, and personas that don't reflect who we truly are. But here's the thing. Wearing a mask might protect you from judgment, but it also isolates you. It creates a barrier between you and the world, leaving you lonely and unseen. Authenticity, on the other hand, requires risk. It demands that you stand in front of the world, unguarded, and say, "This is me, take it or leave it." And while that's terrifying, it's also liberating. What we often fail to realize that authenticity is not a weakness, it is a strength. It takes courage to embrace your flaws, to own your mistakes, and to show the world who you are without apology. It is the kind of strength that allows you to face life's challenges head on, without the burden of pretending to be someone you're not. And it's the kind of strength that inspires others, not because you are perfect, but because you are real. This year is not a time when we ignore the truth or ignore real. This year is not a time when we encourage the conjunction of courage and fellowship. There is no truth except in the presence of what we can see and do. As Oscar Wilde so aptly put it, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. It's almost time for you to get a crew of people to throw the dime on. Perfection is overrated, but striving for authenticity doesn't mean settling for mediocrity. It's not about giving up on growth or refusing to improve yourself. It's about recognizing that growth happens not in the absence of flaws, but because of them. When you accept yourself as you are, you free yourself to become who you are meant to be. You stop wasting energy on pretending and start focusing on what truly matters. Building a life that is meaningful and aligned with your values. Authenticity is not the end of the journey, it's the beginning. It's the foundation upon which you build a life of integrity, purpose, and fulfillment. One of the greatest obstacles to authenticity is the fear of judgment. We worry that if people see the real us, they won't like what they see. But the truth is, you cannot control how others perceive you. You can only control how you show up in the world. And here's the paradox. The more you try to please everyone, the less you'll resonate with anyone. But when you dare to be authenticity, you attract the people and opportunities that are truly meant for you. Not everyone will understand or accept you, and that's okay. As the saying goes, you can be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world, and there will still be someone who hates peaches. When you stop striving for perfection and embrace authenticity, you also discover a profound sense of freedom. You no longer have to carry the weight of pretending to be someone you're not. You no longer have to fit into molds that were never meant for you. Instead, you can focus on living your life on your own terms, guided by your own values and aspirations. It's a freedom that allows you to take risks, to make mistakes, and to learn from them without shame. It's the freedom to be fully, unapologetically yourself. Authenticity also opens a door to deeper, more meaningful relationships. When you show up as your true self, you invite others to do the same. You create an environment of trust where people feel safe to be themselves without fear of judgment. This is where genuine connection begins. Think about the moments in your life when you've felt truly connected to someone. Were they moments of perfection or were they moments of vulnerability? Chances are it was the latter. Authenticity is the key to building relationships that are not only meaningful, but also enduring. Whenever I ask people to talk about the importance of authenticity for building relationships, it tends to be ideals. And so going there with your peers and being transparent, but let's be honest, authenticity is not always easy. It requires you to confront your fears, to let go of the need for approval, and to embrace the messiness of being human. It's a process, not a destination. There will be times when you falter, when you question whether it's worth the effort, and that's okay. What matters is that you keep showing up, keep striving to be true to yourself, even when it's hard. As Carl Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. There is a profound beauty in imperfection, in the raw, unpolished reality of being human. It's in the laughter that comes from a shared mistake, the strength that emerges from a painful lesson, and the resilience that grows in the face of adversity. It's in the courage to say, I don't have all the answers, and the grace to forgive yourself when you fall short. This is what it means to be authentic. This is what it means to be authentic. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about living a life that is true to who you are, not who the world thinks you should be. So let go of the need to be flawless. Stop chasing an illusion that will never bring you peace. Instead, embrace the messy, beautiful reality of who you are. Be authentic, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Show up in the world with all your flaws, your scars, and your humanity, and watch as the world responds, not with judgment, but with admiration and respect. Remember, it's not perfection that inspires others. It's the courage to be real. And in being real, you not only change your own life, you give others the permission and the courage to do the same.